Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, but we pick out the biggest story of the week, the sleeper story, one that's maybe flying under the radar a little bit, the most remarkable story, and our favourite story as well. So let's jump into it. What was the biggest story of the week?
For me, it was all about the re-engagement in the region by Australia. The highlight, of course, was the hug between Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Solomon Islands leader Manasseh Sogavare at the Pacific Islands Forum. As US Vice President Kamala Harris said, Australia and the US had dropped the ball in the Pacific. We've picked it up again. Mr. Sogavare assured Mr. Albanese that its alliance with China doesn't mean a military base will be built in the Solomon Islands. That's great news. The Prime Minister also held bilateral talks with other nations. One of the highlights for me, though, Michael, was the fact that the government's efforts have received bilateral support. So when Mr. Albanese was criticised for being overseas too much, Liberal politicians came out to his defence. It's a bipartisanship Australia hasn't seen for a while.
It is fantastic to see, isn't it? The biggest story for me this week, Sean, was all about jobs. Unemployment in June fell to just 3.5%. That's the lowest in 48 years. That's a long, long time. The numbers are amazing. 88,000 jobs created in the month, record high participation rate, a new high for female participation as well. My favourite stat, though, Sean, is the ratio of job ads to job seekers is now 1-to-1. It puts a lot more pressure, obviously, on the Reserve Bank to keep hiking interest rates to try to bring inflation under control, and that pressure could keep building. Economists are predicting that unemployment could get even lower in coming months. It's a big story.
Very big story, that one.
What do you reckon the most remarkable story was this week?
I think you and I are going to agree on this one. It's the images sent back by the James Webb Space Telescope, the biggest telescope ever built. It shows images from billions of years ago, a time just 600 million years after the Big Bang. Now, I say just 600 million years. That's because the Big Bang happened 14 billion years ago. It's so remarkable that we can look back in time. Do I understand what I'm looking at? Absolutely not. Do I think it's truly remarkable? Absolutely.
I could not agree more with you on that one. That is the most remarkable story this week. Not much to do with business, but it is just incredible. Go and check out the pictures if you haven't seen them. The sleeper story this week, Sean, what was it for you?
Well, I think the sleeper story this week is the dive in some financial markets. Markets are so volatile at the moment that we've become a bit blasé. But this week, the two commodities that matter most to Australia and Australians took a dive. In terms of Australia, iron ore prices fell sharply. They're back to 2021 levels. Of course, that will hurt BHP, Rio Tinto and Fortescue, but it'll also hurt the Australian government because it won't receive as many taxes. For Australians, Brent crude fell below $100 a barrel. It hasn't been consistently at that level since the beginning of the year. Means petrol prices should come down. For families, very big news and a sleeper story.
The sleeper story for me, Sean, is the economic crisis that's unfolding not too far from Australia. This is all happening in Sri Lanka. It defaulted on about $51 billion of foreign debt a couple of months ago. Fuel and food are in short supply. The country's really just in social and political chaos at the moment. The sleeper element of this is that Bloomberg Economics reports other countries like Egypt, Pakistan, Ghana, Tunisia, El Salvador are all at risk as well. These are poor nations with billions of dollars in debt, just as global economies are slowing. If this continues, there will be a lot of social unrest. It's a very human story, this one, and it's going to be huge.
Yeah, it sure is. What about your favourite story for the week, Michael?
Oh, look, it is my favourite story. It's the story that kind of just spoke to me, Sean, because we know how tough the cost of living pressure is at the moment. You've got rising interest rates, electricity bills, putting fuel in the car. It seems, though, that nothing is immune to inflationary pressures because after 15 years at $2.50, the humble Bunnings sausage sandwich is having a price rise. It's all for a good cause, obviously. With costs rising, community groups aren't making as much as they used to after covering the cost of bread, sausages, tomato sauce, all of that. So the increase really is worthwhile, but it is just a sign of the times that we're living in, isn't it? Where inflation is hitting everything.
Even the Bunnings snag.
Absolutely. Sounds like we're in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I've got nothing to compete with the Bunnings sausage going from $2.50 to $3.50.
We deal with the big issues here, don't we, Sean?
We certainly do.
There we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed.